Listen. So with all the Oscar nominations that are about to be released and the 70 new Sundance movies we just watched at the fest, even with a whole backlog of LMEs, none of it compares to the first cinematic event of the new year, which went straight to streaming after being delayed off of its own delay. Personally, I don't mind the previous Transylvania trilogy. We made a mini LME covering it, and I think that there is a reason why they've broken records and have had success for over a decade, as it tells the story of this father and daughter, not just the relationship, but the business that they're growing, one that's captured audiences' hearts ever since it premiered at TIFF.
What, did you guys just see The Master or something? Wake up. Good Lord.
On top of that, Genndy is an iconic animator who directed the first 3 movies, and Adam isn't just a voice in my opinion. He really is the spirit of the series with the way that he just approached it, and now they've replaced them both. The joke has always been that Sandler uses these movies in order to make a vacation, and how with this series it allowed him to take a vacation but as a cartoon. Well, now the man's taking a vacation from the vacation.
Johnny?
Of course, this isn't the first time that the series has faced problems, because they have always had that copyright issue with Universal and how they can't have the monsters look too similar to theirs, meaning that Frankenstein can't even have bolts or they'll get sued. It's just sad that besides all of those issues, you now are at a point where the main IP is starting to look worse than the Redbox originals. But again, it's because of goofy copyrights like that we're grateful for today's video sponsor, Likewise, an app that helps you save time in finding your next must-watch. Literally, all you have to do is keep track of everything that you've watched and let that history help you find your next favorite. So you can even look back at the Hotel Transylvania movies and log in 1, which would obviously get a thumbs up because it's one of the best. Hotel 2, also pretty decent. But then when you get to these two, everyone knows they're a little
blah, blah, blah.
But then you can also peruse comments to see what other people are thinking, such as this one that reads, "Doesn't have Adam Sandler, so that's a bummer." And I would agree, Laura. You can also ask a question, follow cartoons with the most cinema knowledge, and discover personal recs just by swiping left or right. So if you're interested, click the link in the description to download the Likewise app, support the channel in a 100% free way, and avoid watching movies that aren't up your alley.
I can explain.
Let me. So the movie begins by celebrating the 125th anniversary of the hotel, as well as the movie's newest 126th release date. By this point, Drac realizes that he needs to hang up the cape and is ready to pass on the hotel. And Mavis, who suddenly has sonic hearing like Dolores, is enchanted to overhear that it's going to be going to her. Meanwhile, my sonic hearing kind of noticed, well, some of these lines sounded like they were FaceTimed in.
Johnny works so hard to make this extra special. He has everything under control.
Obviously, you can count on Dracula to bite off more than he can chew, and he decides that he'd rather renovate instead of passing his establishment down to a human, who is also married to his daughter. And here's the thing, this vamp has been trying to change Johnny for the past 3 movies. Like, they really have his character relearning the same lesson more times than Bart Simpson has, and it's just become the series' crutch. He brings up this fake real estate law about how you have to be a monster in order to be able to accept any building, and again, that just forces his son-in-law to continue to change who he is. Poor guy's already overdoing his parties like he's Kendall Roy. It's already bad enough that he lives amongst the dead. Now they've belittled him to the point that he's out there getting advice from the previous movie's villain.
This is all my fault. I ruined everything, all because I'm not a monster.
Using Van Helsing's Ray Crystal, Johnny gets turned into a dragon monster in order to be there for his one true love. As you notice how this man's willing to alter his own being, his DNA, his truth for her. And when you really look at it, Mavis really was 120-something years too old to fall for a guy like this. Like, when you're dealing in a world full of monsters, Johnny comes off more like a pet than he does a husband, much less a father.
Don't worry, Mavis. This is gonna fix everything.
Of course, when Drac finds out, he snatches up that wand and tries to zap Johnny back into being a boy, but not only does he end up breaking the crystal that powers the ray, but he Freaky Fridays himself and transforms from a vampire into an animated Adam Sandler.
I love you inside and out.
It's also a really manipulative Drac that we got this time around, or at least I felt, because he's so aggressive to his employees and his friends. You're seeing him throughout the movie get more heated than usual. Like, there is a point where he just straight up brainwashes his own grandkids. But of course, he justifies this all in the name of regaining the race crystal. And so the movie transforms himself into a buddy road trip flick as they travel to South America and hike throughout to find their rock. And during this journey, Johnny causes an 8-car pileup in broad daylight and then immediately flees the scene. He's completely confusing monster with being an all-out criminal and is slapping his father-in-law in the afternoon. He thinks about hijacking a bus that everyday civilians use and just yabba dabba does it. And so the movie then transforms again into a segment of How to Train Your Johnny as he realizes his new powers and adjusts. Meanwhile, Dracula goes through a riveting plotline where as a human, he can now finally face the sun. And then just forgets his sunscreen and gets sunburned.
It's burning my eyes!
Thanks to their Sony Xperia cellular devices, they're able to get bars internationally and they connect back home. That's where Kathryn Hahn is still voicing Drax's partner Erica, who of course sets course to go find them. And while not directing, Genndy is still voicing Blobby, who just becomes kosher jello due to all of the previous zapping that was happening, which transforms the entire monster squad into humans. Wayne goes from doing TikTok dances to ignoring his responsibilities as a father. Frankenstein starts to look fine, but it's Mrs. Fran who always shines. And Spade returns to voice Griffin since they won't let him touch Kuzco again. But I didn't realize the divisions it would bring to families when it was finally revealed what this invisible man looks like. But it's kind of a callback to the first film.
What's wrong with red curly hair?
Why are you getting upset?
I have red curly hair.
Well, how was I supposed to know that?
That said, it seems like the betrayal continues here because they really got the fans going harder than a pirate on the cannon.
The Invisible Man, we've only ever seen his glasses, and so we're like, okay, well, why is that? And well, the reason is that he's like a casual nudist, and he's always been like that.
In terms of the new voice for Drax, I personally thought he was okay, as much as I love Sandler in the role and I truly think that he defines it, Holly does a good job. I think it's really cool to see someone who I've caught early on doing impersonations on YouTube, and now he's in this really big movie. And honestly, I wish him the best and hope that he gets to voice an original character in a big budget animation. So he doesn't bring anything bad. Sony is the one who owns the rights to the movie, and they have rationed out to streamers, who's going to get what when it comes to the animated movies that couldn't go to theaters. But I feel like accepting that $100 million from Amazon Prime just meant that they had to say bye-bye to Sandler and his Netflix deal. Because honestly, just like ABC doesn't want an Oscars host who works for other networks, I feel like that's going to happen with the streaming wars. And in my opinion, that's just all these stories bamboozling themselves.
Blah, blah, blah.
Not only is half of it recycling from the previous three, but then the rest of it just kind of feels redundant. Like they're trying to pitch this as a farewell while also feeling like an unnumbered reboot. There's an ooey gooey moment involving a marshmallow speech that talks about accepting the best in people regardless of how rough their exteriors may be, because it's all about, the truth. In a story about two people who don't really get each other and are no longer even each other, but one of them, who is the original voice, isn't even there, and I feel that kind of takes away from it. But, hey, they got Ninja.
Check it out.
In the end, they all eventually find each other in the forest and continue their journey. They build up their power counts, they animate a neat little zombie bit, and then turn the third act into a Universal Studios ride as they fight for the newest Xperia phone. And they're aware that they're just retreading the same ground, so any spark of anything new, they leave it up to you to find.
You just have to look for it.
By the credits, they've all come together, but the hotel has come apart due to a monster guinea pig that invaded it. And while in the beginning, Drax didn't even bother to give a look at Johnny, now that his hotel is completely and utterly destroyed, he gladly hands over the keys. Now, I don't know what was goofier, him pulling that, or how the movie just reopens a new hotel faster than this movie ended up on streaming. I know they say this is the finale, but it really just feels like a setup for more spin-offs as they swap the animation on you right at the end. And after learning to accept Johnny, and then learning to accept Johnny, Dracula accepts Johnny, but on Amazon Prime, as you realize that they haven't even gone through the darkest of it yet. As these two, having come to terms with the fact that one day, Johnny's poor soul will depart before them, as their immortality surpasses their loved ones once again. But if there's one thing franchises never do is die, so, get ready for Drag to expand faster than the White Lotus. Thank you all for checking out this video, and I'm curious to know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Check out Likewise, who sponsored this video. They're a really neat app that help you find whatever your next must-watch might be. And if you like this movie, then, it'll help you find more movies like this. On that, I'm curious to know your thoughts down below in the comment section. To me, the original trilogy, I don't like the third one, but I think it's I think it's a cohesive story for what it needed to be. It ended on a good point. 4 really is just retreading all of the other stuff that we've seen. I mean, they even give you an after credits scene, and it is literally booty cheeks. But I'm not one who thinks that they're going to end this, because they have other prints and other works that they've done. They have the whole series, they have all the games, like they have Motel Transylvania has been printed. So I don't think that it's going to end here, but I do hope that if they are going to bring the gang back together, then it's got to be the whole gang, in my opinion. But I'm curious to know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on this or any others, and until next time, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And I guess Kevin James will come back too.